Hello, guys. Today we are going to be discussing a very important topic, which is a Gradle. What is a Gradle, and what is the purpose of the Gradle, and how we can run the Gradle, how we can build the application through the Gradle, and what are the benefit over the maven, and how what are the installation steps, and how you can achieve the build based application in a Spring Boot. So let's get started. Gradle installation. The first part is to be install the Gradle on your machine. So you can Mac user go to the home use home preview. So command is preview install Gradle. That's all. And you have to be set up the path so you can be able to find the installation steps into the from the Google, and the Windows user can be able to install the Gradle and download the jar file and zip files and set the path in environment variable with the bin directory. So quite simple, so you can be able to do in a minute. What is Gradle? Gradle is a build automation tool for multi-language software development. It controls the development process in the task of the completion and the packaging of the task. Deployment, publishing, support the languages include the Java, C++, and JavaScript. Basically, Gradle is basically nothing to build the application. For example, if the application is written in Java, so it will create the jar file, and not only create the jar file, and the packaging and the testing and the deployment and publishing, everything is included. For example, if you are building an application, you have some sort of test cases. So this Gradle tool is actually run the test cases. If it is all successful, then it will create the jar file, and definitely you can be able to deploy this jar file to anywhere. So it is basically our build tool. And what is the purpose of the tool? It is the purpose of the ability to build an automation language like the Java, Scala, Android, C++, and Groovy. The tool support the Groovy based domain specific languages over the XML. Basically, in Maven we actually have a XML format where we can be able to add the dependencies in the XML format. So all the dependencies you can be find from the Maven repository website, so where you can be able to find the Gradle dependencies as well. So the syntax is different. It's basically using Gradle is using the Groovy based syntax. So in the later example we can be take a look at that, how we can be able to write the scripts into the Gradle. But for definition wise, you can be able to understand it's a Groovy based domain specific language over the XML. And Gradle provides the building, testing, and deployment software over the several platforms. So it is popular for building any software for the large application. So for the large application, everybody is using the Gradle. Why? We can be able to take a look at that in next of the slide. What is the Gradle is used for the Java? The Gradle is an automation tool often used for the JVM languages like the Java, Groovy, and Scala. So these are all the JVM languages. Gradle can be configured to be run the tasks which do things like compile, jar, run test, and create automations and much more. So we take a look at that. What are the tasks and how the Gradle is creating the tasks like that. And there is a comparison between the maven and Gradle. As we already know, the maven is a build tool, and it is being very popular in the market, and it's XML based. But Gradle is also build tool. And the first point is the software project management comprehension tool primarily used for the Java based application, and open source build automation system that is built the concept of Apache and Maven. So this is also both are open source of the software, free, and you can be able to use the Java application. And in the Apache, it's actually Apache and Apache Maven. So Gradle is basically built on the basis of on the concepts of Ant and Maven. So both tool are the automation tool, and both are the build tool. Use XML, it does not use the XML, use the Groovy languages, and scripts are not shorter than clean. Scripts are shorter than clean. So when we are writing the Gradle build, so we actually need to be creating a file, build.gradle. So this file is shorter as compared to the maven. Written in the Java, Groovy and Kotlin. Makes the build process easier, provide the guideline for the best practices in the development, and allow the transparent migration to the new feature. Allow the structure, the build support multi-project builds, increase the productivity, provides an easy way to migrate and different technique to manage the build. So in different multi-projects, it is support the multi-projects. And there is another comparison for the performance wise, why the Gradle is being popular, because of his performance. So as you can see in the chart, the Gradle and the maven, clean compile, actually taking this is basically a task clean compile. So if you are using the Gradle, so it will take lesser time than maven. And simply you can see the clean test and clean compile, clean cache from the cache, inner compile. So everywhere you can be able to see that large monolithic application. So you can see the Gradle is fast for the performance point of view, and Maven will take their longer time. And the market uses for the build too. So as I told you that the Gradle is being popular, and the market industry, it is taking large of large, it is used for the large application, like as you can see in the 2004, both of the build tool was came into market. So the maven is continuously is using by the, as you can see the graph is status. So it is continuously using the by the market. But in the 2013, you can see the Gradle is being more popular than maven. So it is in the market. So everybody is focusing on the Gradle instead of maven. And this is very important to the slide, the Java plugin task. So basically the Gradle is actually run the task, and every points is a task. For example, build is a task which is aggregated task. So it this task is do the assembled and the check, these two main tasks it is doing the behind the scene. Number one is, if you can see, the assemble task is actually doing making some jar files, and making the classes and compile and process resources. All are tasks in the blue, in the green color, and in the blue color all other tasks. But aggregated tasks are blue color, and because the more than one task are doing with the same work. So important task to know that the check task is actually do the testing, do that, run the test cases, and do some stuffs. So these are very very important of the task. So if you want to run only the test, so you can use the test task. So if you want to run the check task, so you can be able to use the check task. So and similarly for the jar task, for the classes task, the assemble task. So these are the tasks everybody. So in the example we will take a look at that how we can run the task. And simple, the command is the Gradle build, Gradle assemble, Gradle jar, Gradle check, Gradle test. So these are syntaxes. Gradle compile, Gradle classes compile. So this is how you can do that. Compile Java, right? So Gradle commands, when you have a system, you have an application in the Java, so you just need to be initialized with the Gradle init. So Gradle init is nothing, is just to be initialize the Gradle on your system. So make sure that Gradle install and path variable is set, so you can be able to use the Gradle init. And the second one is the Gradle build. As we already seen in the previous of the slide, the build is basically a task which clean all the libraries, and then to completely run the test cases and completely build the application. So and it also make the jar files. So it's a big task. So you can be able to run any other task like Gradle test, Gradle summer, Gradle jar, Gradle clean, something like that. So these are basically some task that is you can be able to run whatever the task you needed instead of running all the tasks. So this is the beauty of the Gradle. Gradle folder structure, that is very very important. um, so when you are working in the Java environment, so you make sure that your application will have a source, main and Java folder where the source file are exists. So in the example you can see the source main Java com dot Nazim basically is in packaging. So all my source file inside the source main and Java folder, and similarly all my test files are in source test and Java, right? And the resources, for example, if you are running the application, the resources, so you can be able to use source main resources. So this is how you can do the resources part. And Gradle, build.gradle basically a file that contains all the Groovy scripts. Also this kind of Groovy scripts. So as you can see, the first one is a plugin. So we are using some curly brackets, id is equal to Java, because we are using the Java. So you can use the Kotlin, you can use the Groovy and other languages. So if you are building the application in Java, you can use the id single code Java, that's it. And the dependencies, similarly dependencies are test implementation. For example, if you are building an application which is using some test or JUnit, so you can be able to define like that: test implementation, group name and version. So you can be able to define all thing in one step, but in the example I have shown you the group name and version, so you can be able to test them. So this is basically a library that Gradle will pull from the Maven repository central website, and fetch all the dependencies including the project. And similarly for the repository, where it can be downloaded. So Maven Central is basically a function which is getting all the libraries from Maven Central. And similarly for the jar, so in the jar, basically if you are building the application and you are building the jar file, so definitely you would have to provide the basic main file, which is a main file. So you can be able to define jar manifest attribute. So main class is equal to this. So this is how you can be, it's simple steps. You can be able to write the scripts into the Gradle. Example, in the example we will take a look at the example which taken in language as an input. For example, English or Spanish. So whatever the language is choosing by the user, so we can be able to fetch the file from the resources folder and then display the content accordingly. So in this example we run the some test cases, and then we can be able to create some build, and then we can be able to run the build accordingly. So this is going to be a very good example. So guys, now we are going to be doing the example. So first take a look at the terminal. Okay, so basically now we are going to be build some application which is using some Gradle. So first take a look at the Gradle is installed on your machine or not. So type Gradle version. So you can see the Gradle is installed on my machine, so we can be able to run the scripts accordingly. Now we are going to be create an application, a project into the Java, a Java based application. Click next, click next, and Gradle test 1. Okay, so as you can see, there is only one folder which is source folder, but in the example we can be able to create a folder source main Java com and Nazim. For example, sorry, main Java com and assume like that. So the folder has created, and now you are going to be creating a file, main file. Okay, and now public static void main. So this is our main program. Hello Gradle. Now we are going some resources. Right. So this is how you can be able to create your own test, right? So this is an example. Now in the terminal, so this is basically an application. You can be able to set up the folder accordingly, and then now you can be able to, as you can see, we have only source folder and we have out folder, right? Because we do compile, but there is no jar folder, there is no other folder. So now we are going to install the Gradle in this project. So you can see the directory is simple, so you can be able to like Gradle in it. So as you can run the Gradle in it, so it will ask you the some points. Number one point was the basic application library of Gradle plugin. So this is basically, and a Groovy or Kotlin based DSL language, so I'm using the Groovy. And generate the build API behavior with no in the minor changes, right? And project name is Gradle test. Okay, that's fine if you can leave it. So as you can see, it is successful. So if it is successful, you can see it has created the Gradle folder, which is basically it's a folder, primary folder, which they have some primary files, and now they have a Gradle folder which they have a wrapper of Gradle files. And there are some files. It is created build.gradle file, and Gradle w and Gradle batch. So this is for Windows and this is for Linux, and these are for the settings. So if you can open the setting file, so it is just setting the file, the project name. And if you can see the build.gradle file, there is nothing. uh, And in the Gradle folder we do have nothing except for the one library. So now we are going to create some build folder. So if we can write, for example, Gradle build, so it will do something, and then it will create some build. So as you can see, after running this folder, so nothing gonna happen because we do not have write anything, we do not have anything. So it will ignore all the things. So if you can write like this, and then Gradle build, so it did something, and it taking some time, right? So as you can see, there is another file, folder which is created by the build. So as you can see, the build folder has some classes where the main source folder and then test, and accordingly, so it will write all the classes inside the proper folder, right? And then we have generated, so it is generated some libraries and libs folder. You can see that there is a jar file is basically already has created. So this is a jar file for this of the project, which is Gradle test one.jar file. So uh, if you can run this jar file, then see what happened. So if you run the java slash jar build slash libs slash Gradle.jar. So as you can see, it is showing no main manifest attribute in this file. Basically this file is basically running the jar file, but it is not understood by what is a main file. So you need to be define what is a main file. So this is how you can do that. Jar attributes, jar manifest attributes, main class com.nasm.main. Okay, now now the project structure has been set. Now the source, main, and Java, and we have a package name com.nasm. So as you can see in the package file, we have com.nasm, and basically a file which is a main file taking an argument and input, and the string builder content, whatever the content in the file is en, this is en file, and this is Spanish file. Hola is basically in the Spanish hello, and this is hello, right? So this actually reading the file from source or main resources, and whatever the, for example, if you pass the en, so it will get the input as a language, and then display the content accordingly. So this is a simple program, and in the test we used org.junit.test. So basically a test cases where start with the test and verify not exception. So this is basically a file, and we are passing some some parameter. So where these dependencies will be downloaded. So in the Gradle file, you can see the test implementation group is equal to JUnit, and name is equal to JUnit, and the version, and where the dependency will be downloaded from Maven Central. So repository is basically an attribute, a task which is getting the repository. And similarly for the jar file, we use the jar manifest and attribute main flies is equal to. So this is basically a sample file, only the plugin name the dependencies, the repository, and the jar details. So now going to be build this application. So Gradle build. So as you can see, it is successful. And if you have a Gradle install, so it will show you the basically uh, sidebar where you can be able to see the Gradle task. Okay, now we are going to be creating the jar file, Gradle jar. So it is successful. Now we are going to run the Gradle jar file. So java jar build lib Gradle test one dot jar file. Okay. Oh, exception in main thread. Okay, so we did not pass any parameter, so we need to pass some parameter. So en for English and es for Spanish. So as you can see that this jar file is actually taking some parameter, um, and we do not provide, so that's why it is giving you error. So this file is do nothing, just basically taking the input, whatever the input is, and then read the file content and display the content. So whatever the content you write in hello, uh, using the Gradle, welcome to the Gradle, for example, welcome to Gradle, or for example in the Spanish you can say, for example, this is wrong, I know, but for the testing purpose, I'm just give you an idea how you can making the jar file. Basically you do the basically Gradle jar, Gradle build. Basically you actually make some changes. Gradle build Gradle jar java just jar build lib Gradle, sorry, and es. So as you can see, the values has been changed, and for the this value has been changed. So this is how you can be able to make your application in the Gradle. And the last one, which is the test. So as you can see in the build section, there is one task which is going to be running. So this task is basically running, so you can be able to run the task accordingly. So this is how the Gradle is basically is running the task behind the scene. If you can make some changes, so as you can see the test results, it is some tasks, Java compile, process, classes, and everything. So and displaying some messages because we actually passing some parameter. Let's suppose if you are passing some parameter which is not exist in the system, and then you can be able to run the test, so test will be failed because this parameter does not have any system, and it is going to be open the file. So this is how you can be able to run your test, and your build will not be successful because your test is going to be failed. So this is how you can do that, the Gradle development with the running the task and everything. So it's a very big topic, so you can be able to do some steps for making your life easier. So this is how you can do that, and you can be able to play around with this file. So build.gradle file. So that's all for today. If you have any question, any problem, so you can be able to ask me. Thank you very much. Bye.